Filling awkward gaps with comic panels since 1995. This is Feature Please. My name is Joseph.
And I'm your co-host, Peter.
This is a special episode that we are creating as a thank you to our patrons that will probably eventually wind up as something that we generally distribute down the road, but will be exclusive then for some time. And it is not a review of Star Trek, as we are wont to do, but a review of a special property. Usually it's Trek related. We've done a literal TNG porn film. We have done Galaxy Quest. We have done
best Star Trek movie.
It is. Maybe Star Trek 6 might be a little bit better. And we've done Battlestar Galactica because there's a Ron Moore connection, obviously, to a lot of Trek. Voyager slightly more DS9, so we looked at that. This time, this is our first time we reviewed something as a consequence, I think, of an internal show meme. We memed this into existence.
So obviously, Lori Petty, who is
we're reviewing Tank Girl, the 1995 film Tank Girl. That is the review. Go on.
You didn't read the title of the podcast, I'm sure. So you got the Voyager connection there. I mean, you got two Star Trek crossover points. You got Lori Petty and you got Malcolm McDowell here.
True.
So it came up in, would you say that episode was Gravity?
Gravity, season 5, episode 13. Gravity.
The intergalactic dilated time Voyager episode, which right there is the best part of that episode. It's time dilation. Time for the EMH Tuvok in Paris was moving way faster than it was for anybody outside the pocket.
And when we watched it, we were both struck by the fact that the guest star was Lori Petty because we had both seen Tank Girl. And the thing about Lori Petty, which of course I was reminded of for an hour and a half when we watched this film, is that she has an extraordinarily annoying voice. And it is very, very recognizable. And it was recognizable in that. And we got to talking about Tank Girl as a film and led us down some discussion paths on the trauma support group about, mid-90s, nerd movies, comic movies, what that environment was like, especially compared to today. And Tank Girl itself as something that, occupies a very odd place in the pantheon of this history. So
which one of us exactly did suggest that we do the Patreon content with Tank Girl?
Oh, it was me.
Fuck you.
Okay. Yeah, I deserve that.
Bend you over, I don't know, a barrel that's on fire and let a zombie gorilla fuck you.
Listen, you said yes.
I was young and stupid. That was before last night. Holy fuck. Spoiler alert, I did not like this goddamn thing. I can't tell you when's the last time you saw this thing?
Oh, I think I saw it in 96 probably, or something like that. I'll tell the story of how I initially saw this film, so I remember it quite vividly.
Go for it, because I cannot remember when I saw it. I just know that I did see it, and again, I must have been young and very dumb, or I don't know. I think my brain's pretty good at forgetting things that suck, so maybe that was a big chunk of it too.
Your therapist, you paid him a lot of money to forget having seen this.
Oh, Jesus.
I remember seeing a review for this in the newspaper. So again, this dates me because I was reading a newspaper, and this was about 13, and I saw this review of Tank Girl. I got 1.5 stars. It was bad, but it was based. I read in the newspaper, first time I ever seen anything about this movie, that it was based off a comic book, and the picture that was in the newspaper that accompanied the review was the main character in her best, I guess we'll call it Gwen Stefani cosplay outfit from the film. And, as a young lad in 1995, I was interested in what I had just seen and sought out more information about the film. Couldn't find much. And then, probably not even a year later, I saw it in the local rental store and rented it, and was unaware it was an R-rated film, as was my parents. I think I was probably I was only 13 or 14, so I was definitely there with them if I was there. And I was somewhat shocked to find out I had rented an R-rated movie.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this one to be R-rated either, so we had to bust out the tablets and tell the girls to go play with the tablets in the other room while my wife would wisely go on to play with her phone behind me while I was stuck to deal with this shit by myself. Can I throw a life story in here real quick?
Absolutely.
You're talking about going and renting a video, and obviously that's not anything any of us have to deal with anymore with streaming services. I was driving to Cleveland and I had my kids in the van with me, and I'm listening to some podcasts, and they start talking about what their scariest movies were. And my 4-year-old daughter, who I thought was not paying attention, goes, "Daddy, what movie scared you?" So stupid me, I start telling her about The Ring, which legit scared me. And you want to talk about stepping in a pile of dog shit. Not only did I have to try to explain to her the plot of this movie in a way that wasn't going to create nightmares, but then she sidetracked the entire thing, asking me what a tape is and trying to explain physical media and the notion of movies exist on a thing you put into VCR so you can watch your movie. That was like my entire car trip to Cleveland. So certainly a very different world back in good old 95. So what'd your parents think of it?
So my dad was like interested for 25 seconds for the same reason I was probably interested, and it quickly lost interest and was just quietly left. So I ended up watching it by myself. So they weren't like trying to intercede, or they weren't scandalized by it so much as they were. My dad was bored, which is exactly, I think, the way any adult human would respond to this film.
Disgusted. This
And
has
left.
the directorial style of a late 90s Totino's pizza roll commercial.
Let's talk about the era. Okay, this is the most 90s film, right, in a
Well,
lot of
before we
ways.
even get into that, as you pointed out, it's a comic book adaptation, right?
Yeah.
This is
Mhm.
this is a comic movie. Normally, I don't know about normal, but for me, anytime I think OG comic movie, immediately I jump to DC's Superman, and then really 89 Batman, which is the one that woke the industry up to it. And then you're like, okay,
Hey.
well, those are old school. So then you go to Blade, right?
Mhm.
But this predates Blade, man. This is
Is this it is very clear that this movie's entire existence is because of the success of Batman and Batman Returns. Like, you can draw a straight line to it, right? Batman 89 comes out, it's a huge hit. You know, it's a huge marketing hit too. Like, way more money was even made just selling toys and selling
Happy Meals.
merchandising rights. And then Batman Returns comes out, it's not as big a hit, but is still a massive movie, and every studio wants to get their hands on some kind of comic adaptation because there's a clear market here, right? You can see what happened. MGM is not a huge studio. They don't have a lot of money to throw around. They got to figure out what they can do on the cheap. And they get this project in front of them to do this comic book adaptation. It's got a lot of like personality to it. You know, it's got a lot of color to it. It's definitely got that over the top feel that, something like Tim Burton Batman had. They can do it on the cheap. It's post apocalypse, do it on some desert sets. All we gotta do is rent a tank, and we can do the rest of this thing no problem, right? And we can put it out there, and we'll put in some dead zone in the spring on our release schedule, and it's gonna scoop everybody up.
Grab a foreign IP that no one really knows about, and maybe we can grab it cheaper than.
Right, get it for nothing, right? Because it's a comic out of a British magazine. It's like Judge Dredd in that way.
Speaking of, when was that Stallone version of Judge Dredd?
In the same time period, in that this zone after Batman '89 was a huge hit, and everyone's looking for some shit to do. That
That
was
had
in
to be a cheap IP for them to grab, like that and this, like,
yeah.
because I was surprised how, I don't know, I would say British centric it was. I had no idea that this was supposed to even be fucking set in Australia, because doesn't the opening intro like show the Golden Gate Bridge all dried out?
No, it's Sydney. That's supposed to be Sydney, Australia.
I thought it was fucking San Francisco, but
So the origin of this feels pretty easy to figure out. Cheap IP, a project with a lot of like specific sort of vision and personality that seems like it would appeal to the same kind of audience that would go see a Batman film. And we've
Sex
got a
shock.
what's that?
Sex shock appeal.
Yeah, there's a sexy girl edge to it, and you got a director who seems really interested in doing it that knows the material, right? These execs don't know shit about fuck, right? Like, why would they know anything about comic books in general, let alone an extremely obscure one? But they got a director that's done some fucking for hire work, did like some shit on the Friday the 13th movies or whatever. No, it was the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and it's like she's like, yeah, I can make it. I can make it. I can make it cheap. I know the creators. I got this. And so they go for it. And I would love to have been on whatever trip or circumstance came to pass where the studio found out what film was being made and what that it was R and it was very weird, and then decided to just grab the reins and make it even worse because they were desperate to turn it into something marketable and profitable. Because that moment clearly happened based on the final result. They fucking panicked and they chopped this movie into pieces and tried to put it back together with what they had, and it was not good.
That's putting it lightly.
I mean, you can see it, right? Like, I read up on some of the background here. There's apparently an hour's worth of footage that got cut, and it was all the plot, according to the director. Like, everything that got left out of the film was the actual plot of the movie, and they kept in 50% of just Lori Petty mugging for the camera because that's what they felt that they could salvage that was marketable.
My notes almost verbatim. All right. So I don't know with our international audience if you're familiar, but mugging is
Hamming it up, you know,
extreme facial gestures for the camera. And I just said the whole movie, right, is basically Lori Petty just mugging like she's David Lee Roth. You can replace Tank Girl with David Lee Roth and or Dr. Roxo, the rock and roll clown from Metalocalypse, and it will be literally the same fucking movie. Give or take some chest hair, I guess.
The movie apparently had a much more cohesive plot. There was all kinds of edits made to try and buy back the R-ratedness, but clearly not enough because it's still very clearly R because of violence. But it's in that weird prudish way of like, now there's no boobs.
There's no boobs. There's no blood. I mean, there's
blood. No, that's what got him the R was just some blood.
Man, go watch Suicide Squad that James Gunn did. That's a fucking rated R movie. That's where you're earning that blood. So there's enough blood in it to get it the rated R, but there's not enough blood to make it worth the rated R.
Yeah, it's like the worst kind of R, which is barely. And still weirdly prudish in the way that they just bought back all of the sex stuff to the degree that they possibly could and got that out of the movie, but still wound up with an R rating, which is, I presume, what they were trying to avoid with all of the cuts they made, but just didn't have enough material to actually create a movie in editing that was going to have any cohesiveness whatsoever.
As I sat there watching the movie, I had a hard time figuring out what mindset I should be in. I can't remember watching it as a kid, so I can't really remember how it struck me. And having watched it last night, I can't even remember what my impressions were or the things I may have said about it back in the Voyager Please episode of Gravity.
I remember being very confused as I watched this movie the first time because I just was, even the young teen version of me was super annoyed by Lori Petty's voice. And I think the only reason I continued to watch the movie is when Naomi Watts shows up. I was like, oh, I'm much more into that. And that kept me interested enough in what was going on. But I remember being like, man, that was as bad as I read about in the newspaper. That wasn't good.
What I'm saying, though, is like watching it last night, like as a major motion picture that would be released in a normal theater and everything else, like, I think the movie fucking sucked. The humor was not there. And the acting, to even call it community theater, I think is a grave disservice to those people in the community theater circles.
Hold on. I think that there are some plaudits you have to hand out. First of all, I don't know how they managed it, but they got the best effects ever for doing the actual kangaroo mutants because they were done by Stan fucking Winston.
Who cut his rates to be in it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, the fucking Predator guy was like, I will work for cheap to do Tank Girl. I don't know what the fuck happened there.
listen, there was a dream that all nerds had that their nerd shit would one day be cool and that there would be fucking Iron Man and all the other fan nerddom service, Star Trek, this, that, whatever, that shit would go mainstream. And maybe Stan Winston was just like, I want comic book movies to be a thing and I'm willing to do whatever I can to further the cause.
I mean, Iron Man was literally the last movie he worked on before he passed away.
Um,
there's some truth to what you're saying.
There's good parts of this movie, but overall the movie fucking sucks. And yeah, you're exactly right. It earned that 1 out of 5 stars. But so watching it as a major motion picture, like what else came in 95?
Right. Batman Forever. I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing to consider in parallel to this, because I feel like this is so like Schumacher-esque in its own way. Like it has a lot of that weirdo Dayglow sensibility
Hollywood.
to it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's it's hard to think that there's any kind of direct parallel, since Batman Forever came out later, but they came out in the same year. But they were certainly inspired by the same current.
Neon. So, I mean, you can take it, and even Batman Forever, it sucked, but the production value was there. So, as a big movie, I think this is terrible. But then I was like, all right, well, what if I put this on the level of Return of the Living Dead or any of the other B movie horror schlock?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that this was a direct to VHS limited release made on a budget of like, $800,000 or something. Like, at that point, does it become so laughably bad that it becomes good? When during the big end fight where the Rippers are attacking Water Power in the warehouse of fan belts, whatever the fuck that was supposed to be, you can see jump cables on all of the kangaroos and all of the soldiers they're throwing, plain as fucking day.
It's one of the cheapest movies I've ever seen. Just cheap.
So I mean, if you say, all right, this was some art students made this, does that make it a good does it become fun bad? And I don't think it did. I think even as looking at it as a shit movie, I wasn't taking anything out. There was no like super redeeming scene. Like, yeah, the animatronics they had on the Rippers looked cool, but was that enough?
No, this is not a good bad movie. This is a bad movie. It is a fascinating movie to me, though. I enjoyed watching it just from like a cultural like autopsy perspective, or like trying to figure out how this got so fucked up. And I think it goes back to not understanding that a comic book movie is not literally supposed to be comic book panel after comic book panel, which feels like what they were attempting to accomplish.
They were trying to buy credibility. It's exactly that. Yeah. They're beating, hey, did you know this is a comic movie? Because we're going to have a 5-minute intro, just nothing but slamming through. And that's something I'm glad we've moved away from in television and film, is like the obligation for a long, slow, boring intro. But they flood you with a bunch of comics. Okay, great. We get it. It's comics. But then anytime they need to cut a corner as far as a special effects budget goes, or instead of doing a montage, just speed through to the next plot point, you get more just smash cut comic book cell.
There's the comic book panels that are like weird gap fillers. And then there's also 2 animated segments. I'm going to say something controversial. Those animated segments prove to me that this should have just been an animated movie.
Absolutely, 100%.
Like some sort of Ralph Bashki adult animated, Tank
heavy
Girl,
metal. Yeah.
Heavy metal, that would have absolutely fit this 110%.
Since you read heavier into the background on this, what was Pearl Jam, was it called Do the Revolution?
I don't know.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't know that.
It's a great music video. Watch it. But there was a lot of shared animation style between those two, and I'm wondering if the same pens were involved between them. But yeah, man, that stuff was all great. And I think had this whole movie just been animated that way, it might have been badass.
Yeah, if it was like a heavy metal or like Ralph Bashki, like Cool World type of thing. There's way more potential for what you wanted to do here to do that. Um, Apparently, that those animated sequences were done at the last second by the actual comic creators because the studio cut so much out of the film they didn't have an ending. And they're like, animate it, just animate an ending for us. And then again, like with the training montage, or when they get like they cut out everything that made sense there, they didn't want to use it, so they animated it. Also for cost reasons, there's a lot of that, of course. So the studio butchery had a hand. I would be interested to know like what the director's actual like work print might have looked like of this film, like if it was more coherent or interesting. I don't think you can totally save it because this Lori Petty's a black hole of charisma. I do not fucking understand how she got cast in this aside from just look, alone. Like in stills, she looks like the character is drawn, and that's it.
Well, I think that's all she needed. I mean, the entire movie. Maybe this movie might be cool if it was playing on a projection television screen in some goth club and you don't hear any audio and it's just occasionally you look over and stuff's happening on the screen as a
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes.
like geez, was it Sucker Punch?
Man, yes, this movie is Sucker Punch's unknown prequel. It really is. It's bad in almost the exact same B movie way. But you know what? I'll say that Sucker Punch had more artistic vision, which
Sure.
is really saying something about a. So okay, Zack Snyder is not the biggest hack. I mean,
That's
all
Alex
right.
Kurtzman, obviously.
Yeah, it's Alex Kurtzman. I should be kinder. I should be kinder to Zack Snyder. Like his 4-Hour Justice League is extremely overindulgent, but is actually creatively very.
And 300 is dope.
300 was interesting. I think 300 is a product of its time. I don't think it's aged super well. I think it was really
Hey,
cool
how
in its
about
moment.
this? Let's not make the mistake we made of Tank Girl and suggest we watch that one.
I don't think there's a version of this film that's good, but there might have been a version of this film that was more coherent and interesting and had more going for it than what they ended up putting out. Because what they ended up putting out was clearly the studio going, fuck, we're going to lose $25 million on this thing. We need to do something. And they still lost all their money.
So first and foremost, for a movie named Tank Girl, where the cover is a girl and behind her is her tank, not nearly enough tank in this movie. Probably because the tank's expensive.
Tank's barely in it. They don't get the tank until halfway through the film, and I don't think it actually really shoots until the end. And it doesn't actually shoot. It just does the cheap movie shooting, which is to say they show a muzzle flash and then they show a tiny explosion somewhere. It's not shooting shells.
I read the level of customization they did to the tank. It sounded very expensive. At one point, they make it clear that the tank has AI, or at least a brain that's been inserted. I'm not at all familiar with the Tank Girl comic, so I don't know whose brain that was that went in there, but I would rather have watched the story about whose brain it was and how it's doing in this tank than 70% of the plot that we were given.
Well, let's be clear. There is almost no plot to this film. Of the hour and 30-ish minutes of the actual runtime of the movie, I would say half of it is the plot and half of it is filler. The filler is either overindulgent, repeated Lori Petty mugging for the camera, bad jokes, comic book panels, animated segments,
and feminism.
Long, just holding the camera on people while some very odd soundtrack choices play. Early 90s alt rock soundtrack, but not like the good stuff you've heard. It's like the stuff that was way too obscure for you to have heard.
Hard disagree. The soundtrack on this movie is fucking amazing. I loved all of the songs, and if you do not recognize them, then it is not because they were that obscure. However, for being a great soundtrack, that audio engineering and the decision to put the songs where they were, when they were, how they were, was awful.
I am not saying that the soundtrack is bad. I think the soundtrack was misplaced, I guess is the better way to put it. I guess that's what you're saying.
Squandered is what you mean to say.
Yeah, like there's yes, I recognized it all because I was, born into the era in which this was the cool hipster music, and I certainly listened to it. But I think Courtney Love like put this together for them or something. Like,
Yeah,
and again, like kind of like an absurd level of talent in the background on this. Like, again, Naomi Watts is the supporting actress.
that's why I wanted to tell my Ring story was Naomi Watts.
Like, who, by the way, it was very weird to see her both brunette and using her actual accent in a film. I was not used to that. She is she is Australian, so it was like, oh yeah, you're like Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson. You're like Mel Gibson. You're Australian secretly.
Yeah, she looked like the Baroness's from Cobra, the Baroness's funky little sister, greasy little sister in this.
Listen, 13-year-old me was into that, so I remember as well. Let's talk about the movie. Let's summarize what is actually in this film. We get a brief like narration opening of this is post-apocalypse due to a comet. We get their first comic book panels. Everything is everything visually looks like it's out of 1995. It's just that
Treasure trolls.
yeah, it's British anarcho punk by way of Gwen Stefani is the look of the whole film, and that's very like mid 90s. The voiceover is just your first introduction to the huge mistake there was to cast Laurie Petty in this film because you just cannot stand her talking. She is just not. You just want her to shut up.
I think you're selling it short. Yeah, she's got an annoying voice. I don't think there's anything she could do. That's her. That's how her body is. That's how her voice is going to be fine. The lack of presence she commands on screen and the awfulness of her acting. The scenes she has, specifically when we jump forward with when she finds the wood carving, it's her, it's Jet, and then the lady who is apparently called Subgirl, right?
Yeah, it was just a cameo, but apparently
When
had
she
like
sneaks around when she walks around the table and hits her over the head with the fish, that was some fucking high school musical production stuff, and that's par for the course in her this entire time. Any scene she has with Malcolm McDowell, and I'm sitting here saying, "What did you do that you ended up in this movie?" Opposite this woman who is dunking on you with the worst fucking zingers of all time and zero acting chops whatsoever. Like, if there's anything I can say positive about Tank Girl, it's that I think in retrospect, it's now making Gravity seem like a much better production.
Malcolm McDowell is a guy who's had a wild career of really incredible roles, and then he is in just the biggest pieces of shit. It's kind of like you wonder who's his agent. Who told him, Malcolm? I know you've just wrapped up doing Star Trek Generations, and you're a little sour on the idea of doing another sci-fi film, but how about you do Tank Girl, where you're an evil water baron?
Here's the better question: who does Malcolm McDowell owe money to?
Yeah, does he just have that many pools he has to maintain? How
who
many pools are you installing, Malcolm?
who has kidnapped his family member and held it for very high dollar value ransoms that he is willing to just, if there's a paycheck involved, he's there.
I will say he tries in everything he's in. He has a really good scene in this film, like his intro scene when he's like meeting with all of his evil henchmen. That's actually probably the best scene in the whole movie.
Yeah,
You get the opening, you get the sense of what's going on, you get like a goofy, like sexy scene between uh by the way, the main character is never actually called Tank Girl on screen ever. She's called by her name, Rebecca. And after you get this intro of like, oh, they've got this commune and it's a hippie thing, and they've got like water and plants, and I'm sure this will get ruined real soon.
real Mad Maxi, limited resources available, Fallout, blah blah blah. There's lovable, adorable kids, but they're just dirty little street rats. So all of the adults are well washed, clean, and sexy, but all the kids look like Newt from Aliens, like they've
True.
fallen through a fucking sewage line.
And you get to our first scene with the villain where he's got all of his evil henchmen lined up, and they all have like a little champagne glass of water. and he gives this great evil villain monologue about how water is life. Does it right into the camera, you know? It's got that Shakespearean verve to it. He sells every syllable, congratulating his evil henchmen on their success in being, spreading the evil henchmanness of his organization. But then
Nazis. They're straight up Nazis.
yeah, they're water Nazis, and he transitions, of course, into the classic unreasonable evil supervillain demands, which is like apparently they were like partially unsuccessful in one piece of the Australian, countryside not being taken over. So that means I have to shatter all of these displays, humiliate the guy who's in charge, make him take his boots off, and then walk across broken glass to come over here so I can excoriate him for not killing me and then suck all of the water and blood out of him.
Do they, at any of your notes, did you encounter what that thing, that little Tupperware water extractor was actually called?
No, I don't think they really need to tell you what it's called. It's the thing that extracts water and it's good at it. They just demonstrate it on screen and it's like, oh, I know what that is now.
This is the best part of this movie, hands down, and second maybe to making that one episode of Voyager look a little bit better. But again, 90s, I can't remember what it was actually called, but it was a piece of Tupperware or like an accordion water bottle, right? And it's collapsed and it's got a series of sharp little needle pipes on the back. And this thing will get used 2 or 3 times throughout the movie, but you sneak up behind your mark and you stab him in the back and it sucks all the blood out of him, runs it through the filter, and then the Tupperware expanding accordion water bottle in the back fills up and you recover all of the water out of a corpse, which seems like a real handy doodad to have laying around in the barren wastes of Australia. I think it should have been used a lot more, but this is the beginning of that unearned or not worth it R rating. He shatters all the glass, like you said. He tells the guy, "Come here." The guy walks across the broken glass. No blood anywhere. No blood.
Nope.
Until he gets stabbed in the back, falls over, and the emancipation. Is that the right word? Emancipation?
No.
He emancipates the blood out of him. And he
desiccates.
It's
desiccate. He desiccates.
Emaciate. What's emaciate?
It's desiccate is when you suck all the water out of something.
Yeah. Well, he hits him. That's a pretty cool effect. And then, continues to...
Well, the scene ends with the best flex, which is you find out when they pan down that he is also has his shoes off as he's just walking across the glass and not giving a fuck, talking to the rest of the henchmen how they have to do better, and then promoting the next most senior henchman. That's what sets the whole scene off. It's like, this guy is fucking bizarre.
What sets the scene off is when he takes the fresh water bottle of man water and drinks
it in front of him while he does all this.
And all I can think is oh man, that water is 98 degrees. That's some warm water he just drank. That's fucking gross, dude. Yeah. Anyways, moral of the story is, if you are at a celebration and your goofy boss is walking around barefoot, watch your ass. I did
don't be the most senior man in the room.
I did like his replacement henchman, Sergeant Small.
Mm-hmm.
That guy will have some pretty good facial acting down the road.
They cut back to the commune, and we get this. This is definitely emblematic of the problems of the film. Like the first scenes, whatever, they move, you establish things. This is probably 10-ish minutes of, tank girls sitting outside doing a bad job of being on guard duty, and then leaving a sexy note for her boyfriend to come out and watch as she cuts up her own clothing in front of him as a striptease. And
so let's talk about the sex. Lots of sex in this movie, but not
sex. It's lots of implication of sex, but no actual
nipple.
Nothing beyond raunchy dialogue. And one scene at a really badass nightclub where, some people are clapping cheeks and there's some pasties on some nips, but still no actual nudity.
I thought it was interesting for a woman-directed film, the strong lines of feminism that I think are attempted to be drawn in this.
It's weird though. It's that like feminism by way of like feminism is just like not giving a fuck. I don't know. Like I see the what they were trying to do, but it's not really empowering to be disgusting, right? Like are you gonna like to get pushed around while you're fucking? That's supposed to be liberating for women, I guess. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't either. And maybe it wasn't for you and it wasn't for me, but as a bystander to it, the whole thing came off as weird. I don't know what part of that was like intentionally empowering. I don't know what parts of it was the studio potentially sabotaging the end result and saying, punch up the sex and let's try and rely on skimpy outfits and some cock teasing to get eyeballs on the screen. Mixed messages to bad effects.
I completely agree. It's hard to know what the intention was. I get what was being implied by it of like I'm a strong independent woman that don't need no man, but it just seemed to completely fall apart in execution. But that's really the tale of the whole film, so maybe that's not a shock. It's all a terrible sequence, and then of course the goons show up and they shoot up the commune. And there's a whole bunch of people in there that we I guess all presume just die. We do see the boyfriend get filled with lead, but the goons attack in the classic 90s way, which is they all just line up and everyone does the same thing with their guns, which is just hold their guns at hip location, pull the trigger, and then just spray it.
The
Just
commando style of gunplay,
yeah,
yes.
it's the commando like 87 or just like it's like a water hose. That's the way these actors treated guns from like 1987 to 1995 is like it's a water hose and they're hosing bullets down on people. It
Unfortunately for the bad guys, that style of gunfighting only works for the hero.
yes, they always miss with all of their bullets and the hero always hits with all of their bullets. As we all saw in Rambo First Blood Part 2. This is just that's exactly how that movie goes. To the point where there's even a joke about it in UHF, I believe.
So they attack. She kills them all, but unfortunately, she's not able to save her family first. And then eventually, she gets overwhelmed, and they shoot her. The bantha. I don't know what the hell that thing was.
Oh, the water buffalo.
Okay, whatever. Well, it's dead.
Yeah, like you get a little bit of like, oh, this is this cute sidekick, and then just gets shot in the head.
They capture her for whatever reason. They don't just fucking kill her because plot, and they get her on the admittedly sweet looking like.
Oh no, they say they captured her right at the beginning because they want to rape her. Like that's what they absolutely imply from
Yeah,
the
well, that's
start.
going to be the B plot of this
Yeah, the
movie, and
B
that
plot
is,
of this is sexual harassment / assault.
yeah, everywhere, all men, all the time, and when I say men, I mean male, because it's not just limited to humans doing the sexual harassing. There will be some hybrid kangaroo would-be rapists as well.
From Cincinnati, Ohio. Much to my great
Yeah,
regret. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. We were
yeah.
having such a good month too.
Congratulations, by the way, on almost winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, it was of course somewhat tragic to see the Bengals lose, but actually a tremendous amount of fun to even see them playing. And I don't know how much penetration into the rest of the world the Super Bowl gets. In America, it went from kind of something that was on the decline to being a huge deal because sports betting became very legal in the United States over the last 6 months. And everyone started being very much more interested in the NFL because now you can bet on it on your phone, depending on where you live. And of course, there's a sports book near Cincinnati, and everybody, bet the Bengals, but they were the underdog, and the Rams did not cover, so everyone won, even though the Bengals lost. So that I think softened the blow of like all the degenerate gamblers in town were like, well, I still won money. I mean, it's fine, like. So there was a nice letdown.
So they get her on the pretty cool looking airships they use in this, and then they decide the gang rape implications will begin. You've got your lead thug who is going to be the one stupid enough to get in close enough for her to get her feet up around him and sloppily break his neck, and everybody else is too smart at that point to keep their pants on. She's got to go off and see the boss man.
This is the first time that there was a clear edit where they used the trailer line instead of what was shot for the film, according to the director. When she meets the boss man, she's like, "Yeah, do you want to like beat me, torture me?" And then in the film, it was supposed to be "fuck me," but instead it's "lick me," which was what was in the trailer. So that apparently was emblematic of a lot of the studio changes, that they just found the nerfed version of every scene they could and used that instead. But she's like, "I'm too cool to work for Evil Overlord Incorporated. Fuck you. I'm not going to do it." And so they send her to go work in the mines. She's going to be a coal miner now.
Jokes aside, I mean, this is where the movie goes completely off the rails for me. Even the initial notion that what's his name, Kesley, is that Malcolm McDowell's Kesley, who is the Dr. Evil boss of Water and Power, and they're pretty much, as best I can tell, the only real game in town. They control the water, so they control the power, and they're essentially the de facto government. As mentioned before, all of the henchmen are just wearing straight up Nazi uniforms. Why would this guy want her to work for him? They've already established that the Rippers, which are the kangaroo army mutants, right? They are the big thorn in Water and Power's side. And then Kesley, for whatever reason's like, "Hey, here's this punk rock chick with an annoying voice that, admittedly killed a couple of my guards or whatever, but for her to warrant his personal attention seems silly." And he says, "Hey, you want to work for me?" And she says no. And he goes, "Okay, well, you will." And yeah, so they kick her off to the spice mines of Kessel.
I guess they imply because she's like good at murdering the goons who stood in a line while she hosed them down with bullets, that makes her a good henchman. But
To
there's
be fair, if we're saying that Kesley can see past the fourth wall and he realizes that her shooting from the hip, gun waving, can kill everybody because she's the main character, then yeah, you'd be like, "Oh wow, this is the person the movie's about, and they're really good at combat." Yeah, we would want them, but I don't think he sees past that fourth wall. This is bonkers.
this being sexual harassment, the movie continues when we are introduced to our second character, our second main character, and that is Jet Girl. And it is played by, as mentioned, Naomi Watts, who was very pre-fame at this part of her career because she didn't really break out until she was in Mulholland Drive when she was working with David Lynch, is when she got like noticed. And that wasn't for another like 6 years after this, because I think that movie came out in like 2001. She's in her 20s. This is her trying to pay her fucking rent in LA. Like that's what she's doing in this film, and she is so much better an actor than everyone short Malcolm McDowell, especially so much better than Lori Petty, that it's almost embarrassing when the two of them are in the same scene. It's
It's not
very
embarrassing for Petty, though. It becomes embarrassing for Naomi Watts. And it's like, God, look at her trying. She looks so stupid trying to deliver these lines realistically, opposite David Lee Roth. Like, just
yeah. Like,
you're embarrassing yourself. Like, there's no redeeming the other one, but you're stop. You're trying.
yeah, you have too much talent to be using it in this film. It's clear by how hard you're trying.
You've become a tryhard now. You're not a jet girl. You're tryhard girl. Stop it.
We introduced to her, she's like a mechanic on the jets, but Sergeant Smalls wants to do her. She's like, "No, you're disgusting. Go away." And eventually goes back to work fixing airplanes. We get a weird long sand shower scene where Lori Petty just gets doused in sand. Saves Jet Girl from more sexual harassment by making out with her, I guess.
Yeah, so Sergeant Small corners Jet Girl again, like, "Hey, if it wasn't for me, everybody would be, humping you and you'd be getting passed around and blah, 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 male chauvinism." And then Tank Girl pops in, like, "Hey, get away from my girlfriend. We're lesbians." And then this guy reveals that he is the only man in the world that is repulsed by lesbians.
Yeah, like only man in the world who's like, no, I'm into that. Let's both go somewhere. Like, no, he's like, no, ew. Now you have
Yeah,
cooties. Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Very 1995. Uh, and then that's when she gets called in back to Kesley's office. It says, no, I'm still not going to work for you, and ultimately gets like shoved into the tube. I think, right? Like the tube that's like gives her claustrophobia visions.
Yes, she is forced to painfully and traumatically relive watching her cow get its head shot.
Yeah, like they were trying with the cinematography for that, but it's just like, no, everything that's come before this has not had enough stakes. This movie's not taking itself seriously enough to do a scene like this. Like,
This movie wanted to be torture porn. I
what?
think
It wanted to be R. It wanted to be a hard R, is what it wanted.
who I don't know the person who did the script, which
The
real quick, let's just
director, the director's a horror person.
yeah, but Teddy
Director's the
Serafin who did the screenplay, Tank Girl, Rush Hour, Terminator 3, Possession of Michael King, Altergeist. Um, the concept of torture comes up many times through the material that I read up on this. And I think somewhere in there's just a interrogation torture kink that wanted to run free, and they
Oh,
did not let
that's so clear in like all the dialogue they give Lori Petty, where she's just like always like talking about
asking
how
for it.
she's talking about how horny she's getting when she's getting her ass kicked, or people are talking about torturing her, like that she is like, no, that gets me wet. Continue. Like they are in the open about what this movie's fetish is.
This, and speaking to fetishes, if we were to do this film the right way today, I would say that there's only one person who could do it, and that would be Quentin Tarantino.
Oh
I'd watch
Jesus!
a shit out
There's
of.
even foot stuff. I mean, you
I
know
know, I know. I mean, it's oh,
what?
Quentin Tarantino could really let his fetish fly, courtesy of Malcolm McDowell's bloody feet.
I noted at the end of it was just in the Wikipedia article about it. I could find nothing else about it that it's gone anywhere. This probably been a casualty of COVID, but it was reported in December 2019 that a reboot of the film was in early development with Margot Robbie's production company, who optioned the rights from MGM.
Listen, you put Margot Robbie in this role, and you put Quentin Tarantino at the helm.
Quentin Tarantino's final film is the reboot of Tank Girl.
I'd watch it.
Of course, I would watch it too.
I think he could do it the right way. Maybe even let Robert Rodriguez in there. I was a pretty big fan of Grindhouse. So yeah, there will be this continual torture thread through the movie, and it's just like this PG-13 version that never really makes sense. So she gets put in this long tube at a slight incline, and then that's where we cut away to go.
There's like a quick interlude where she like tries to break into the tank and would have been like doused with gas if, but Jet Girl saves her. Like, it doesn't matter. And this is when they eventually pull her out because they want to try and capture the Rippers and they want to use her as bait, I guess. And
Which
then
again goes back to this whole theme that for whatever reason, water power would give two shits about her. Hey, here's the super important thing. Here's our real war. It's between water and power and these mutant kangaroo motherfuckers. And they're making real gains against water power.
yeah, they are murdering the shit out of these dudes.
And more, life is cheap in this world, but as Kesley will point out, the disruption and the damage they cause to this outpost at this rate will have lost all of our water. Like, these guys are undefeated. But hey, listen, we think we found a entry point to their subterranean network. This is a big fucking deal. So we're going to parade up this prisoner that wants nothing to do with us and is completely uncooperative, and we're going to shove her down there. So I don't know what the initial theme, or I'm sorry, what the plot of this movie was supposed to be, but the plot we were presented with is bad guy wants the hero to work for him, and she doesn't want to work for him and gets forced off on an adventure, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And it sucks. It's stupid. So they bring her up and they're like, you're going to go in here. And it's like, Why wouldn't you just send 3 of your best legions in there to go stomp these
Or
motherfuckers
just
up?
like some random person who's recently failed you that's expendable. Like that,
Or like
like
15 of them. Or
yeah.
just put a fucking bomb down there, or a robot, or whatever. Not the person who wants to see harm done to you. Although I guess ultimately it makes sense because she's got all the listening devices. So if she's sent down there as basically a Trojan horse, like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if I put 2 of my enemies together, they will befriend each other, and then I'll be able to ferret them out. I guess that
Yeah,
makes sense.
okay. Yeah. That's a good 3D chess evil supervillain thing of like I will put my enemies together and then listen in on all their plans so that I might capture them all. Like, okay, that's movie supervillain logic that checks out. All right, okay. One
I'm
and a
really
half
pissed off.
stars indeed, Tank Girl.
I'm really pissed off now that I suddenly made this movie make a little bit of sense. Like
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've had this experience. The Rippers all show up and literally murder everyone except for Tank Girl for unknown reasons. I mean, you think it's a like kayfabe that the Kresley's like arm's been ripped off? No, we will find out later. He was horrifically mauled at this attack.
everybody's favorite workplace sexual harasser, though, Sergeant Small gets off completely fucking scot free. I was fully expecting when they show Kaylee or Kesley laying on the operating table all fucked up, him to be like, why you don't even have a hair out of place.
Where were
You
you?
ran. You were hey, go grab that water jug sucker thing and put that in your chest. No.
But like Jet Girl shows up, they become besties. She commandeers a tank. They have a completely out of place and unexplained conversation with a character that you will only know is called Sub Girl if you look it up, who apparently had a much bigger role in the original cut of the film,
That's Ann Cusack, by the way.
where they get again another like why does this movie have so much talent in it? Malcolm McDowell, Sam Winston, uh, as we will find out later, Ice T, the biggest stunner of
Oh,
them all.
God.
And for whatever reason,
Iggy
it's just
Pop.
Iggy Pop is a pedophile. Very briefly, uh, they have a conversation that is not explained why it's happening, but ultimately reveals that the young urchin that was friends with Tank Girl has been taken to this banging nightclub that all of the water and power people go to. But before they can go, they have to disguise their stuff. And then there's the animated sequence where they put like a brain in the tank and they put a lawn chair on it and paint the jets. And again, nothing in this movie is adequately explained essentially at all after the first 15 minutes. The opening scenes where you like establish the fate of the world and the commune and then the evil supervillain's motivations, like that is it. Those are the only things where you feel like I understand all of this. Everything that comes after that is like just rushed through at top speed in such a way that it's really hard to know what the fuck is going on.
I want to jump back to the Ripper attack. So this is the first real view you get of the Rippers in battle, and it's all done in the dark with smoke and strobe lights. And if you need to picture what the Ripper attacks look like as they are brutally eviscerating the evil water Nazis, just try to picture in your head a bunch of toddlers jumping around, waving their hands.
Well, I want to talk about how bad the action sequences in this film are, but I want to get to that when we get to the end because it was the most glaring then.
So
But
while the aforementioned high school drama department production of Annie grade acting is happening between Lori Petty and Subgirl, it's like first take. Like they're just, it looked like they're
yeah,
just
they're just doing a run through. They're just like,
I'm sorry, wait, we were recording? Yeah, we got to keep going. We don't have enough film to do multiple takes, so it's first take, one and done. I wasn't trying. I was joking around. Tough shit. That's what's going in the movie. Next. They flip back over to Malcolm McDowell, who's all fucked up. You find out, as you said, his arm has been ripped off. And he's got this mask on. What'd they say happened to his face? They ripped his face off.
yeah.
The doctor's like, hey, let me give you some fucking morphine. And he's like, nah, I'm not into that. Don't do that. And she's like, listen, shit's gonna be bad, and you got a real bad outlook. And they bring out the fucking like the only Chinese actor to ever get any work.
Yeah, the guy who got every single role as Chinese man in every single film that was produced for like it felt like 15 years.
What was his voice? Who did he
His
play
name is
in?
James Hong is the name of the actor.
You
If
would
you
know him
look,
as the voice in Diablo 3 as Chen, the artifact crafter.
I mean, he was
Blade
in
Runner.
Blade Runner. He was in Big Trouble in Little China. He was in I mean, I think he was a voice in Mulan, if I recall correctly. I mean, the dude basically did anything Asian for what felt like 20 years.
Quick sidebar: he's also the only recognizable minority in this entire movie.
Accurate.
All of the black people who get to be in this movie are mutants. It's for something that's really going hard for like the feminist street cred. Not a very diverse cast.
No, all the black people are mutants in this. You're right.
Yeah, maybe there's a couple black strippers. I don't. Not a good look. Not a good look. We can perhaps get our podcast brethren down in Australia to comment on what the actual diversity looks like.
I don't think they can comment on this film because there's too much didgeridoo, and we've heard about how they cannot speak ill of the didgeridoo.
I don't think they can mention it at all.
Yeah,
I think it's an appropriation thing.
Yeah. If you say the word didgeridoo in Australia, they throw you into one of the COVID concentration camps immediately. Just immediately. 2 weeks. 2 weeks in the penalty box.
So, anyways, Chinese doctor shows up and he goes, "Well, I've got an option B for you, and it involves cybernetics and sweet ass garbage disposal blade arms, and I'm expensive as shit." And Malcolm McDowell's like, "I like expensive." Also, where's that other doctor who was probably highly trained and a great doctor if she was taking care of like the head of the evil Nazi guys? Yeah, go ahead and hit her with the fucking water jug too, please.
Yeah, get rid of that, and then you may chop my head off with lawn shears. Like, okay.
The thing they used to cut his head off looks like an action figure accessory that would have come with a Superman villain.
It's true. I did like this little translator, and he's actually just all of his dialogue is Chinese, and it just like spits out like a half translation of what he's saying.
You know what? I'm gonna make
I'm
gonna make a statement here, Joe. All of the bad guys in this movie are cool and okay.
Yeah. I think the bad guys are the best part of the film.
The bad guys in this movie, like the real villains of this movie, are all of the good guys. They're time thieves and screen wasters. Yeah, so they chop his head off with a big pair of fingernail clippers.
Something very weird with all the filler scenes that happened between Tank Girl and Jet Girl is that the scenes all have them in different outfits but they're all stitched together in a way to make you think that they're supposed to be the same scene. Because there's a big there's the animated sequence, and then there is basically filler scenes of them talking, and literally from they'll try to make it look like a shot reverse shot, except on when they go back to the original shot, it's the background's different, and then Lori Petty's in a different outfit. It is the worst patch job of an edit I think I've ever seen, because there's no hiding that, right? Like, you're trying to stitch this shit back together in a way that makes sense, and you have these pieces of dialogue that you figured out, like, that you can put into the sequence that like makes some coherent sense to a sentient human being, but they're from different parts of the movie, and your main character is in different outfits, and so they stitch it all together and they don't give a fuck. It doesn't look right. It's fucking bullshit. It doesn't matter.
It looks cool, and that's the byline of this movie is it looks cool. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. It looks cool. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. And, this isn't, I guess, given the studio meddling that happens, this isn't really the director's fault necessarily all the way. But this is certainly a film that ends up getting made to look as cool as possible. Consequences be damned. And when your main thrust is here is a woman that we were going to present as someone attractive with a bunch of wild punk rock outfits, she needs to be in as many wild punk rock outfits as possible to capitalize on that premise. So they get a tip that the Newt type little girl from the orphanage scene in the beginning is still alive, and she's been sold off to a strip club that's operating in true Voyager fashion out of an abandoned shopping mall.
Excellent.
Literally an abandoned shopping mall. That's where they filmed this. And all the strippers are like Storm from X-Men, silver hair, attractive, whatever. And all the patrons are fat old white dudes
In bathrobes.
in bathrobes. And this is your Oasis in the Desert. What was it called? Liquid Silver?
Liquid Silver. They go to this club. There's a bunch of dancing. This is the closest you get to any kind of nudity in your rated R film.
Lots of pasties.
Lots of pasties. There's more Lori Petty mugging for the camera as she assumes a disguise to fit in, which is, of course, humorously, there's a lot of air quotes I'm doing right now, supposed to not actually fit in. And sure enough, we are told by one of some dialogue between the dancers and the madam that Iggy Pop has arrived and he is a pedophile and he would like to engage in pedophilia. So they go get the urchin to do the pedophilia. But fortunately, earlier on, this urchin received a deadly weapon from Tank Girl that she
is retained.
Yeah, she's retained and cons Iggy Pop into using on himself so that she might escape the pedophile, and we all cheer, of course. And Iggy Pop is not to be seen from again. Much to my chagrin, by the way, because Iggy Pop is awesome. He's actually just a fantastic actor in almost everything he's in. The rest of the scene the rest of the sequence in this place is like a fucking sketch comedy routine.
Yeah.
I don't know. And a movie that is defined by how out of place everything is happening. This is the most out of place. I watched this entire sequence twice just to like try and have my brain understand what I had seen.
So what you should be seeing is I'm a person and I watched my entire family murdered in front of me by Nazis and it has scarred me, and I have escaped captivity by the Nazis, and I found out that my daughter is still alive and I'm going to go save her before she is raped by Iggy Pop. And she shows up after Iggy Pop's hand is exploded. And she stands, she's like, "Hey, it's me." And then she was like, "Oh my God, Rebecca, yeah." That's literally, that's like verbatim quoting of how it happens. She gives her a hug. Again, it looks like it's a dress rehearsal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No energy. Fucking awful. And then instead of getting the fuck out of there, they go, "Cool, hey, let's hang out here for like 3 hours, and we're going to take the madam of this brothel hostage and force her to sing in this Broadway dance production number and like just fool around as much as possible so that when the Nazis raid us, you can get kidnapped a second fucking time."
That's exactly what happens. There is a full-on Broadway musical sequence that suddenly occurs in this film to Cole Porter's Let's Do It, including all of the line dancers from the club, water effects, a sing-along from the audience. It goes on for the full duration of the track, and then the end result is the Nazis show up and recapture the person they went there to get.
Recapture from the hero that can shoot full auto from the hip, and all of her bullets hit all the bad guy.
I think we all owe Joel Schumacher an apology for forever saying that he made like the worst superhero movie. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, I couldn't believe it. It's beyond comprehension. It has to be seen to be believed, but it has to be seen after you've watched the first half of this movie, and then this happens. It's just bizarre. This movie definitely wasn't taking itself seriously before, but it's at this point you're like, oh, is this all a bit? Is this whole movie a bit? Because how else can you contextualize what I just saw?
Are all the main characters huffing spray paint in cut scenes? Like If the main characters in this were meth addicts, I think this would be a pretty tight story
I
with a
just have
lot of
what the
stuff.
fuck is this music note number written down on my notes? Like just underlined.
Uh, a lot more, like we said, mugging, like just some straight David Lee Roth shit. I feel bad for all the extras in this scene. Like there's real awkward energy. I don't know, man. Anytime I see a part in a movie that doesn't really look right or it looks bad in final production, I can only imagine how awkward and goofy it had to be while filming it. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of people, I think, standing in that room like, what the fuck? What is this? I regret being here.
They wander around the desert until they get captured by Ice-T. What happens next is they're wandering around and they happen across a bowling alley under the sand, and that's where all the kangaroo people are. That's when we finally get a view of the actually incredible effects, the makeup FX effects they did for the Rippers.
You
Fully
know,
articulated, fully able to emote. The amount of makeup they're wearing, yet the amount of actual expression that they're able to still convey, just shows why Stan Winston is an actual legend, right? Like way, way, way better than this movie could possibly have ever deserved.
I want to go back to the earlier conversation, and that's comic book movies and what we think of. We think of Superman, Batman, Blade, um, Ninja Turtles,
Mm,
and that's exactly what
yeah,
these Rippers are. These Rippers are Ninja Turtles, mutant, teenage mutant ninja kangaroos.
kangaroos. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Complete with a master splinter, wise older, leader.
What's his name? Doctor Johnny what?
Well, no, Dr. Prophet is not
Johnny
ever.
Prophet, right?
Yeah, Johnny Prophet is the creator. I was talking about Kerouac, who kind of
Yeah.
assumes the elder role of the group.
Well, I think Prophet really would have been the splinter type, and Kerouac would have been their Leonardo. Interesting side note: did you see the real nerdy like Dexter Ripper that's always in the background with like the bow tie and the red hair?
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's what's his name, Doug Jones.
Yes, I believe you are correct. You can tell by how tall he is.
Funny that like the most prolific prosthetic actor out there is in this with like no spoken lines. Talk about squandering. But yeah, man, like Ice T, and then I think we're led to believe that all of the kangaroo people are, when they say reincarnated, is that like they found old DNA and resequenced it into this project?
I think that yeah, they were created and they have like genetic memory, I think is the implication. But it doesn't
So
matter.
they were
Like
a
it doesn't
army
matter.
project
To
for
create
a
super
war,
soldiers.
to
Yeah.
create super soldiers for a war. I don't know if this is by water power or by the old government before the comet hit, but the war was over, and the professor who was in charge of the project, who was Dr. Prophet, was ordered to dispose of the efforts, but instead he escaped with all these guys and trained them up in the sewers of Manhattan to combat evil, right?
Yeah. Fight the Foot Clan.
And what he actually ended up doing is like raising at least one would-be rapist, right? So they're interrogating Tank Girl and Jet Girl, and they got him like knocked out with nitrous oxide. And Ice T's all like, "Listen, these guys are spies," and also he ends up being right, coincidentally.
Yes. Ice-T's suspicions are all proven to be valid.
We should kill him. No, we should let him go. And then the guy from Cincinnati who used to work at a Radio Shack or something.
Yes.
Oh wait, no. What's the line?
I
Tank
I,
Girl
I
passes out, and then he goes, "Careful, you're going to knock him all the way out." And then he goes, "Wait a minute, that might be to our advantage. I think we should kill him. I think we should let him go." And then that guy who was suddenly all about knocking out goes, "I think we should hump them
yes, that's exactly what he says.
while they're passed out." I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
whoa.
that written down, like, also the kangaroos want to molest unconscious women. Like, this movie is very horny in a very uncomfortable way.
Very dark and bad way. So they will go on to start trying to get the confidence of the Rippers. They want to join forces and take down Kesley, because the plan at this point now is that they want to go and undo their mistake of letting her adopted daughter get kidnapped a second time. She's like, damn, that was really stupid of me. We're gonna have to go rescue her again, but we need an army to back us up, because my tank and my unlimited bullet pray and spray murder rampage isn't enough. Let's join forces with the kangaroos.
So they go through a, interrogation. We meet the rest of them. There's Ice-T, who apparently used to be a cop, which, is partially true because he doesn't become a cop in Law and Order for a few years after this. The main of leader of all of the Rippers is Kerouac, who is called that because of his beat poetry. He's also played by that actor, that black actor that kind of always plays that sort of like,
House of Cards. He's a barbecue owner.
yes, he plays that smooth voice, wise, sort of. The actor's name is Reg Carthy. He just plays this role pretty much every time. But yeah, he was Freddy in House of Cards when it was good in the first couple seasons.
So they go to prove themselves, and the task they're given is to go infiltrate what could be a weapon shipment, and they need to use a camera to get the info, send it back. They get in close. They come up with this idea that they are going to act like they're doing a calendar and get these guys, these dock workers, to pose in the calendar, and in fact, they're going to get pictures of all the guns. And then Ice-T says that's not good enough. You need to capture the shipment for us. So finally, for the first time in the movie called Tank Girl, does this fucking tank actually come out and start doing something?
So yeah, the tank finally shoots, but when it shoots, it does that thing I described earlier, which is it shoots because there's a flash and then there's a tiny little poof on the actual truck. And the action sequence is mostly Lori Petty doing jokes on the tank and then like being on the barrel and like mugging for the camera and then throwing out terrible one-liners. It's not actually an action sequence. It's just showing off this tank that they did a bunch of modifications to for the movie. It's it's I know we said this, it's very bad. And then eventually she just like rolls it up in front of where the drivers are and they bail out and then she gets in and then has a dramatic sequence where she's going to fall off a cliff.
So
So
the
she,
semi truck full of guns that the bad guys are transporting turns out is on a road that only has another 6 minutes worth of road before it falls off a huge cliff into the ruins of civilization below. Like, at no point do they say, why was this truck just headed to fucking fall off the side of a cliff?
she was just missed a turn. Just missed a turn. You didn't see the sign of like cliff ahead, 1,000 yards. Just missed it. Too busy like hanging off their tank barrel with her legs. So she can have this suggestive, pose to intimidate the men with. But whatever, she gets off. She like detaches the semi. The big dumb lovable kangaroo sort of saves her, and then they get all the boxes back to the base. There's an implication that Tank Girl fucks the dumb kangaroo guy.
Yeah, so you're skipping over a lot of stuff here, and that's honestly fine. Um, yeah, that's the real main part of this leg of the movie here.
Yeah,
Everybody is a reimagined or reincarnated person. Yeah, Kerouac, Ice-T used to be the Cincinnati cop, and no, a cop, and then the guy from Cincinnati who is
the rapist. Yeah,
the rapist,
the
who
Cincinnati
will
rapist.
like
Yeah.
dry hump Jet Girl vigorously over and over again.
Imagine being Naomi Watts and being like, in this shot, this man in this giant intricate rubber costume is going to continuously dry hump you.
And to touch my boobs,
Yeah.
it's yeah, stuff that doesn't fly, right? And so anyways, everybody is reincarnated except for this one guy called Booger, who was never a man, and if I heard the script right, used to be a dog.
Correct.
So they cut dog DNA with kangaroo DNA, and this is like this simpleton with a heart of gold. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Tank Girl fucks a dog kangaroo hybrid
Yes. Yes. Yeah. She absolutely bangs him.
to the
And is
point where there was actually a alternate costume made for the kangaroos that have a dick, and it was supposed to be used in that scene, and they end up not using that. So she she fucks a dog, and then they start opening up the weapons crate, and this is after they've been welcomed into the club. They do a dance. We hear a lot of nice things about Dr. Prophet. He taught them religion, how to kill, freedom, this, that. Turns out all the weapon boxes are just full of sand. And one of them in particular is contains the body of what used to be Dr. Prophet. The kangaroo stuff's all pretty cool, minus, a dog fucking a woman. It's all pretty cool. And again, I think if you cut Tank Girl and Jet out of this,
what a fucking tagline for this film. Aside from the dog fucking the woman, this part of the film is really cool.
like again,
Just put
I
that on
think
a fucking tombstone.
the Ninja Turtle ripoff stuff pretty legit, right? The bad
Yeah.
guy's pretty legit. I think if this movie was just about kangaroo people fighting Nazis, there might be a pretty cool movie in here. But instead, you got this David Lee Roth. So, anyways, they're all like, "No, you're gonna swear revenge. We got to go after. We got to go after the brass ring. It's time to take this fight to water power."
So they have their quick shitty plan where they're gonna like fly the jet in and fake their access codes so they can land and begin their assault while Tank Girl just kind of like saunters in on her tank, just blows everything up on the way, and it's completely bulletproof and
She
nothing
is
bad
on
happens.
a paraglider up in the sky, and everybody is shooting her, and the bullets are ricocheting off of the buckles holding her to this fucking parachute, bouncing off as she kills everybody and does not get a fucking scratch.
Yep.
The comic book movie you're watching here is Long Shot.
it's
Maybe Scarlet Witch. I don't know.
it's
Probability.
it's taking it takes the trope of the bulletproof heroine to an extreme that seems fucking impossible, to the point where again you start to wonder, is this the bit, right? Is this doing this on purpose? This is where I want to talk about how bad the action in this fucking movie is. It's so cheap. It is sub TV level, sub Voyager, which would have been out at 95.
Ooh,
right?
Good point. Yeah. Wow. Compare those together.
Yeah, compare the action sequences of early Voyager to this, and I think your Voyager action sequences tend to be better constructed, probably because they have more limited budgets and you can't do very much, and they're not good, but they're still better than this.
But there's somebody on set on Voyager or just Star Trek or just TV in general that had the wherewithal to say, hold on a second, this is fucking stupid. This is too stupid. This is too bad. We need to do better. But not on Tank Girl. They said, turn the lights off, get the smoke machines going, get these guys in these Ninja Turtle costumes to just wave their hands around like toddlers romping around in the dark, and don't bother hiding again, maybe it's because I was watching this on a high def TV. Maybe on regular TV, maybe on a movie screen, you would have not been able to see these jump lines clear as fucking day. But it looks like tow truck cables hanging off these guys, helping them jump around.
I felt like I was watching like some sort of Broadway production where they have to do the lift and they can't hide the lines are there. So
that's what we did when I was in youth theater, man, for Peter Pan. Like, yeah, obviously there's a fucking cable hanging off Peter, but
yeah,
15-year-olds can't fly. Like, whatever, suspend your disbelief. It's what, a $26 million movie. It's community theater.
So let's wrap this up. All of this so that we can have our final confrontation between Tank Girl and the main bad guy. Jet Girl gets to shoot her sexual harasser in the face. That's how Sergeant Smalls meets his end. Just blasts him, and you don't even get to see the head explosion because again they like weirdly cut the violence out of the film. So it's just an off-screen death, and it's very unsatisfying. There's not even a good one-liner. I mean,
Oh yeah, there is. Oh fuck me, I told you no. Bang. So yeah, the big showdown, right? Malcolm
yes.
McDowell's back. They've been hiding his face this entire time, right? They show
Uh-huh.
you his Dr. Claw garbage disposal spin blade hand, but his face is always hidden. It's disfigured. And finally, he steps out of the shadows, and he looks perfectly fine. It's just regular old Malcolm McDowell, but he's got a fucking Nintendo Power Glove on now. And we begin this fuck you dialogue tree as they begin sparring back and forth in a very low energy fight between
Yeah, Star Trek level fight
yeah
between an old man and an annoying woman, and it ends with for the first part ends with the revelation that Malcolm McDowell's head isn't actually there because it's a hologram. Right?
badass. I loved it. Two things to remember about this movie: hologram heads and the water blood sucker juice box maker.
And the costumes for the kangaroo guys. That's also very memorable.
Discount Ninja. They are discount. They are literally discount Ninja Turtles. Stan Winston took a fucking pay cut to make these costumes.
That's true. Okay.
Where's Malcolm McDowell's brain at? Like, do they just scoop out his chest cavity too and move his brain into like a titanium? I don't know. It's a cool costume. It's a cool concept. There's enough there to be interesting, but not enough to make it scientifically stupid. In the end, he's going to be thwarted by water, but they go back and forth, and he's cutting holes in
Oh,
pipes.
he gets incapacitated briefly, and then Tank Girl runs out of ammunition with the tank, so she has to shoot beer at him. It's just
And he stands there like it's a batting cage, swatting it out. And again, I'm like, Malcolm McDowell, why did you not see the script?
what was the check like? Well, that's high six figures, so we're in it.
Did
Like
Malcolm McDowell fuck a dog and someone has
someone has
blackmail evidence and twisted his arm into doing this movie? Like, what the
no,
fuck?
that can't be it because everyone in LA has fucked a dog. I mean, they don't let you in. Did you not know that?
I thought it was gerbils, but how does he end up dying? Yeah, the water falls on his head and like short circuits him.
Yeah, and then Tank Girl takes the blood sucking thing and sucks all his
Oh
blood out.
right, which
Yeah,
yeah, cool way to kill him. Good.
yeah.
The more that
And
thing gets used, the happier I am.
then she rescues Newt from the tube that's filling with water, which was the ticking clock. And then they go to leave, and then this movie doesn't have an actual ending. So they go to leave, and the dopey dog boy that she fucked earlier
She fucked a dog.
like apparently like befriended and disarmed all of the Nazis, and now they just follow his commands. We don't know why. That's just what they slapped together for this fucking shot. And she kisses him, and then there's an animated sequence about like letting all the water out.
And
That's really
she fucks him again in the cartoon.
well, yeah. I mean, he's in the cartoon, so clearly,
She's like naked. They get the bullet bra out again.
yeah. And the movie finally ends.
Mercifully. I will say that this movie has made me happy that I get to watch Star Trek Enterprise.
You see,
on
that's
my
why we had
Wednesdays again instead of this thing. I will be very careful in the future as to what movies I jokingly recommend we watch.
because I'll take you seriously. I think it's worth pointing out to the listener that like Peter was like, I don't know, Enterprise, I'm not sure, and then this is just gonna make it so much better for you in context of like we can just keep.
Where was Ice-T at when this movie was being made? Like, where was he at in his career? Was this his first like real chance to get into acting? And so
No. He was hold on, acting, television, and film. I gotta know.
how
Yeah,
much flack do you think his dudes gave him for
he was
being in this
in
piece of shit?
He was actually in Johnny Mnemonic in
Jo-
1995.
God, now Johnny Mnemonic, I feel like I just watched that, so I don't know if I want to go back and do that for another Patreon. But Johnny Mnemonic, great.
Was in New Jack City.
Mm, Neelix's finest work.
Just looking through his filmography, he had not really been in too much yet, actually.
I think he was in there because it ensured him that he was going to have a song on the soundtrack.
That's true, and it's terrible. The
Surprise.
worst. It's the worst song on the soundtrack. Yeah, he isn't in anything good. I mean, he's in his Leprechaun in the Hood stage.
God, that's what we should watch next.
Oh, I will not be tricked into that. That is an all-time terrible. Yeah, his movies are just bad. He really like he started doing Law and Order in 2000, and that's really like his best thing he ever did.
Well, again, I like Giant Mnemonic. All right, man. Anything again? So in the end, I think if you cut Tank Girl out and whatever is related to her, and this was just a movie about water Nazis versus kangaroos that fuck, this would have been pretty great.
Yeah, just
Or
be Ninja Turtles, so it would be good.
hey, you know what? Look at that. I think if this had been the movie it was supposed to be, only the whole thing had been animated in a style as badass as what you actually see. Like, I hate all the use of the comic panels and the animation as like a crutch to try and Frankenstein this thing together. But if that was just the movie you were getting, heavy metal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you could have done some really fucking cool stuff there too. But instead, it's this poorly acted, terribly fight choreographed, disjointed, shambling turd. Yeah, do yourself a favor. Do not watch.
But thanks for supporting us on Patreon, guys, because that's the reason why we decided to entertain you by torturing ourselves. We appreciate your ongoing support. And if you happen to be listening to this and you're not a patron, you can join anytime for as little as $1 and whatever you want to kick in. Seems good. We're not trying to make a bunch of money off it, just enough to offset our costs. So we appreciate it.
Just enough so one day Patreon can get hacked, our financial backers can be doxxed, and all of you can be punished to the full extent of Canadian law.
And let's be clear, you will have deserved it. All right, everybody, we'll see you later.